Exciting stuff. All right, I think we're live. It's Thursday. It's a little drizzly, and we're gonna paint. We're gonna paint on a big canvas. I already started. I was thinking that the saying goes, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The best time to start a live stream was 10 minutes ago, but the second best is right now. So yeah, we're just gonna dive in, see what happens. If you've been following along, you know that I inherited a bunch of these large canvases. It was something that when I was coming back from Costa Rica, I was on an airplane, a little jungle, like bush plane getting out of the rainforest, and I just happened to be riding with another artist who had a huge painting that I had seen before at one of my friends' houses, and I was like, man, I love your big art. I want to be doing bigger stuff. And I kind of intended that, and then the day that I got back from Costa Rica, yeah, all of these canvases appeared. My friend Dominique rescued them from a print-on-demand canvas. Like you can print your photos and paintings and things on canvas. So they are all like misprints or things that they couldn't sell. But the end of the story is that I have this huge stack of beautiful surfaces to paint on. So I am going to dive in. I'm going to ramble. I'm going to paint. I'm going to do the thing. This is what we're kind of working with. Let me switch my camera. I could just kind of show here. So Kayla was here. My partner Kayla was here for a little bit, and she is in some big life transitions. She's been a teacher for 25 years. Let's tilt this guy up a little bit. Or maybe not 25 years, but basically her entire adult life, she's been a teacher, and she just left that job and is freshly into the who am I, what do I do next, and feeling some big feels. And yeah, we went on a little river walk, and then when we came back, I gave her the watercolors and said, just paint what colors you feel. And she felt some green. I don't know if that means envy. I don't know if that means what that means necessarily, but this is kind of the inspiration. And with these big pieces, I feel like large art kind of creates itself in a way. Like all it really takes is the intention and the bravery to go for it. And so, yeah, we're starting with just this very simple piece of inspiration, which is like mostly green and this kind of emerald foresty green, and then there's these like brown touches down in the corner. And when we scale that up from, I don't know, a 3x3 to I don't even know what size this canvas is. That's a good question. Let's find out. Got my T-square here. This has got to be, it's a square, so we've got 18. Let's see, how can I do this? 18 by 12, so I'm gonna guess that's about 30 by 30. About a 30 by 30 canvas. And so, I've done the first layer. It's been gezzoed 3 times and sanded. And then I did this first kind of just background wash, I kind of think of it as. I just poured out some yellow and white paint and moved it around. And so we've got this nice background that's gonna kind of be peeking through. And so what I'm gonna try here is I've got mixed this really beautiful emerald green, and I've got another camera here, so let's move over to this one. I wish I could do like, well, maybe I can do like a picture-in-picture. Let's see if I can do this. So, desk camera. I'm gonna shrink this down. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there we go. Picture-in-picture. We're fancy. We're living large. Okay, so in this cup, I have mixed, I don't know how much light we're gonna have, but we're gonna see it here on the canvas in a second anyway. But this is a very brilliant kind of deep forest green. And I think what I'm gonna do, it's got some floaterall in it, and I have this other green, which is much more of a, gosh, I don't even know. It's like a fluorescent mint green. And I'm gonna kind of pour these out, and then I'm gonna use this big palette knife to kind of push and move it around the canvas. And my goal here is to just kind of get that first first layer of coverage. My brown corner is going to be down here, and I think it's going to be really beautiful. Let's see what happens. And you'll find here, if you hang out and paint with me, that a lot of, at least for me, a lot of my creativity is these moments of just like, all right, I've made a decision, now go and flow and letting it all happen. And then there's these moments of kind of like indecision or what to do next, or that's when maybe the more left brain analytical idea comes up. Ooh, I just got a message from Kayla that she applied. She was applying to a local diner that we really like. Okay, I think I want a little bit of white in there. So as far as a live stream goes, it'll be interesting to see if this is fun and interesting to just kind of paint on a big canvas and be with a creator as they're going in and out of these two phases of the kind of more exciting. It's kind of like baseball, right? Like they hit the ball, everyone is cheering, they're running, and that's great. And then a lot of the time it's just pitch signals and waiting for the next batter to step up. And that's kind of what I think we're kind of going between. So I'm gonna get my other color mixed for this down low section, this kind of brown. And I think I'm going to mix the brown myself. I do have, let's see if I can flip this around. My little workstation here. So what I tend to do when I'm mixing colors, I've kind of learned this from mural painting, that my initial tendency is like, I'm going to mix a huge batch of this one color, but it rarely comes out the right way the first time. And sometimes, like if you add too much of a real powerful color, like an azul or a phthalo blue like this, you can't take it out. So you don't want to mix too much and have the wrong color. So what I like to do is I like to kind of be scientific and do a small mix and just keep track of how many dollops of each I am doing. And then I can scale that mixture up. I need some paper towels. And while I am finding those, I guess I will just do my kind of cosmic check-in. And for me, art is as much about the final product as it is the process of making it. And it's how I shift mood. It's how I understand myself better. It's how I go from kind of seizing up to flowing. And yeah. So however you're doing today, oh, I actually do have this kind of nice burnt umber. That's probably a good base. Yeah, I mean, what she was painting with was almost right out of the can, burnt umber. I think I might just hit it with a little bit of yellow, just a touch, to kind of green it a little bit, or kind of bring it a little bit more into the same color family as the green that includes this yellow. I don't know if any of this makes sense, it's just what makes sense to me. I find that if I have consistent colors throughout the mix, that it just kind of has a harmony when it's all done. Yeah, so that's kind of nice. Let's just see how this looks. We'll just test it out. Because this bottom corner, I kind of want to have this sort of browning to it. And the yellow is not fully dry yet, and I'm aware of that, so we're going to be kind of like mixing into it. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good, especially if we keep it a little bit light and let some of that yellow show through. So let's go ahead and mix. I don't know how much of it we're going to need though. It's not going to be a whole lot. We're just kind of giving some interest to that bottom corner. Probably mix in this cup. And if you've painted with me before, you may know that a lot of what I like to meditate on, talk about, think about, is this concept of welcoming, which I learned from Leah Pearlman, who is I would say, close personal friend, although I might have upset her in the last month. I don't know. My last chats with her, it seemed like I did my typical thing where I burn bright, I burn kind of my attention is easily lost, I guess. Like I'm just ADD, so I'll bounce from project to project. And so with some of my friends and relationships, I'm just really bad at like keeping context of like, what month is it? Has it really been 3 months? And what have I been doing? And yeah, so that's kind of how I feel. But this idea of welcoming is the idea that whatever is happening is just what's happening. And that the tendency can be to try to figure it out or control the situation or plan. And that's great. It has a place. But there's also this subtle jujitsu that can happen, and I experience this a lot while I'm painting, is that just kind of accepting things as they are is a great way to flow through them and not get stuck on them. So like with this painting right now, the funny thing is that I've done a bunch of paintings, but I don't yet, especially for these larger ones, I don't quite have a process. You know, with my watercolors, I definitely have a process. I can sit down, I can kind of know what to expect. I can do what I do and get a result that is what I'm after. But with this, it's really kind of exploratory territory. And so this welcoming idea is that, you know, I am not expecting any particular result. I'm not expecting that it's going to be good. I might be expecting that I'm going to learn. I think I'm going to learn a lot today. And I have, you know, this is another in a string of experiments. But basically what I can do is kind of look at my intention, make an effort towards it, step back, see how it went, and then adjust and try again, and just keep doing that process. And something will happen, and a lot of times my own judgment about it, about the product, about whether or not I achieve the vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. You know, that's my problem. That's no one else's. And what's always so funny to me is, especially with art, like the people that see the finished product will just see the finished product, and they won't know what the intention was. You know, maybe they'll see a sketch or something, but they might love that finished product, and it doesn't matter that it was miles away from my actual goal. So the idea in my experience of it so far is less about like firing an arrow and always hitting the target, and it's more about being curious about the target, you know, taking a best shot, but letting that arrow get there, letting it hit the weeds or miss entirely or whatever, and then firing another one, and just staying with something long enough that there is an outcome. I think what I did a lot when I was younger was like I had a desired outcome, and if I could tell like midway that I just wasn't getting there, it's really easy to just bail and just give up. And I threw away a lot of canvases when I was younger because I got like halfway through something and just like I could tell that it wasn't what I wanted, and so I gave up on it. And now with this kind of welcoming approach, it's really different. It feels like there's no stakes, there's no problem, there's just ideas, there's just trying things. And so here's a great example. I'm kind of playing between like flow art and more traditional art. So I'm actually kind of mixing this to be more of a flow medium as we speak. And I don't really know how it's gonna work. The great thing is also, especially with acrylics, but just art in general, this is true really of any art, everything's just a layer. It's true of life. Like everything's just a layer. And sometimes having really ugly, messy layers in the background makes that final product so beautiful. And so I try not to prevent the messiness. You know, let it flow, let it go, let it flow. All right, we're gonna mix this up. It's gonna be kind of flowy. We're gonna push it around. And on this stream, we might end up doing a couple different paintings because I'm not very patient. And while this is drying, we might dive into something else. We might do a little watercolor or even add some ink to something that's already been painting. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dump this out. Here we go. See, I think this is the next move. I don't know if it's the next move, but it's a move. And it's going to move me forward. It's going to get me somewhere. And even that is pretty cool looking, right? And I have this stuff that I talked about, this really bright emerald green. This is a little bit older, so I don't know how it's going to react. I'm going to just put a little splash of water in it to loosen it up a little bit. And I'm going to pour this out too in some different places. And then we're going to use that big palette knife and just kind of push it all around. And we'll see what we get. So now my goal is to just, and you mean like this is, it's already so beautiful. I feel like I could just leave that and it would be art. You know, every step of the way is art. It's just like, where do I want to stop? All right, so now I'm going to use this big palette knife and I'm just going to see if I can kind of get the coverage that I want. And I really love how that yellow shows through. I feel like this one could be titled like CSU. And I don't mind going into my brown. That's kind of the idea here. And I'm really thinking just like background layer, like this layer is going to be a background for other stuff that I'm going to do. So there's no right or wrong. I like how it is covering this big palette knife I just got. I wasn't really sure how it was going to work, and man, it's satisfying. It's just like, it's like butter. It's like Barbara Streisand, her legs are like 2 sticks of butter. Ooh, so that's kind of picking up the brown. Gorgeous. I kind of like the canvas peeking through like that. All right, so that's going to be kind of this first top layer, I think. I mean, there's lots of these little spots where the yellow's peeking out. On the camera, there's this sort of glare that isn't actually in the real painting here. I think I want this to be a little bit more covered. See if I can get some more drips out of here. It actually looks kind of cool to leave some that aren't mixed in. To just kind of let those be drippy. Now I have to test myself. Is that really what I think? It does have an interesting look to it. Let's see, what is making that big reflection? I guess it's this overhead light. I'm really enjoying this color down here. I think I might lean into that a little bit more. So here, like I was talking about, this sort of like a baseball analogy, that there's moments where not much is happening, and then there's moments where there's balls hit, bases being run. This kind of feels like that. There's so much cool detail that popped up in these corners, that these moments of indecision, like do I just let it be and let it kind of mellow out? I'm not liking how these green dots just kind of pockmarked everything. I feel like I want to smooth some of those out. Yeah. Sometimes the art is just like trusting the medium, trusting the material, that it will kind of settle, it will kind of mix, it will kind of blend. Sometimes overworking sections can lose some of the magic. I do have a little little bit of heartburn though, that just some of these little areas where I put drips, I don't know, I might just have to live with it. This is like that welcoming. And we can test it too. I kind of want this yellow and these drips to be kind of smoothed out. So I'm just going to do that. Yeah. And we changed it. It's different. Okay, I'm going to let that marinate. I think in this bottom corner, I'm going to mix up another brown. Something a little bit more flowy, kind of like the rest of this paint. And we will drip that on and see what happens. And while we do that, I will wax metaphysical a little bit more. So, I don't know about y'all. Feels like a really interesting time to be alive. I like Jack Johnson's song, In Times Like These. I guess that's on and on. He's like, in times like these, in times like those, what will be, and so it goes. And yeah, I guess I say that because part of me feels like these times are really unprecedented and wild and just like crazy to be alive. I feel like my view of the future, you know, the expectations I had for myself, for my life, or hopes and dreams, the businesses I started, the future I was trying to build, it just feels really up in the air. And especially right now, making art and having a go at being a professional artist. There's this really funny meme, I think it's Will Ferrell, a picture of him like shouting while there's a huge fire burning behind him, and the caption reads, "Artists right now, the world is on fire." Artists are like, who wants to buy a painting? And so like selling art when the world seems to be in so much flux. I know people that are losing their jobs, government workers, people that works for the Park Service, or climate researchers. There's just a lot of flipping of the script, I guess. A lot of, people have been building careers and making plans and looking to the future, and within a couple seasons, it feels like the future that we had is no longer the future that's really available. Anyway, this is all just a long-winded way to kind of segue into what has been on my mind lately. Is this, just like with the painting process that I'm talking about, this kind of welcoming what is rather than fighting against it. And I mean, this is a great example because I'm literally just like mixing up colors I think are interesting and smearing them on a big canvas, and then stepping back and waiting to see, how everything dries, how everything blends, what I'm going to then inherit as the foundation for my next set of layers, my next set of thoughts and ideas. And I can't even begin to know what will be possible, 1 layer from now, 2 layers from now. So I feel like that's a lot like how I feel about life in the world right now. Is there's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. I mean, these are my feelings. This is how I'm feeling when I get lost in my scroll and start watching videos about the corruption and the environmental crises and the health crises, and there's just a lot to be afraid of, it seems. And those are all, in a way, the layers that are being laid down for the next painting moment. And when it's all said and done, there's these really beautiful compositions that arise, and I can prove it to you because I don't know about you, but I've had a very beautiful life. I've had so many wonderful moments and opportunities and times with friends and with my children, and I've seen beautiful sunsets, I've swam in the ocean, just a lot of opportunity to have a big life. And all of that experience
is coming on the top of the pile of all of human history, which is filled with all kinds of atrocities, all kinds of wars, all kinds of famines, all kinds of disasters and people suffering. Yet, you know, that's all the background to the composition of my life. And I couldn't remove a single part of that and still have the life that I'm living. And so, you know, if you play that game, if you can go back in time and like make one change to history to make, you know, presumably make things better, what would it be? Would you go back in time and kill Hitler, or, you know, stop, I don't know, the first kind of agricultural change that humans went from just living in this paradise garden to now having to kind of struggle and farm and work? I don't know, whatever that might be to you, you know, go save John F. Kennedy, I don't know. The crazy part is that we can't really remove any of those things without affecting the whole. And if there's anything in your life that you like, if there's anything in a painting that is beautiful, you have to take it with everything else.
That's what I tell myself anyway.
Okay, so this little section, I just poured more brown. I wasn't
Even really thinking about what I was doing because I was yammering. I've also got this really beautiful golden fluid acrylic that's actually like gold colored. And I think I'm going to smear this around a little bit, and then I'm going to just do a few drips of this gold and just see what happens. And I'm going to try not to lose the beauty of those last layers, but still just let this be what it wants to be. I even kind of like that one sort of got a drip to it. Yeah, I kind of wanted it to just feel like this corner was a little bit rusty, you know? I'm going to put a little bit of this gold in here. I don't know what it's going to do. Wow, that's actually kind of cool just like that. I'm going to smear this one, just see what happens. But I might leave that drip and just like do another drip here. I always like things in threes, so we'll just do another random drip up here and just see what happens. Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, I don't really know what is going to happen with this one. Because I feel like a lot of the times my goal is to sort of get to a good background and then do like black ink or a drawing. Like I think this could be kind of a cool background for a drawing. But it's so interesting to look at. And actually, you know what? I can tell that the camera is sort of in a weird spot. You're just getting a lot of glare. I'm gonna see if I can take this off the tripod and kind of give you a view, maybe a little bit closer of what we're working with. It's actually quite beautiful. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can focus on this. It's definitely got some sheen to it. I think that will kind of chill out as it dries.
But the beauty is really in the details here. So I'm going to put this on autofocus.
Camera operating might not be my forte.
Yeah, so we've just got this like really interesting.
Here was our inspiration. It was just like forest green with a little touch of brown in the corner. That's all it was. That was the inspiration.
And now we've got.
Let's see if I can focus on this. Yeah, it's really quite lovely.
All these different layers peeking through. Sound like I'm trying to convince you of it.
But yeah. So now the fun part is that there's a lot of waiting involved. in these bigger paintings, because this needs to dry and it's probably going to take overnight. And what's cool is I can already see some compositional elements that are going to be fun to play with. So I think down here, this might actually be a pretty cool backdrop for some sort of a drawing. I've been doing that a lot more, kind of incorporating the, I guess I would call it hectism, but these black and white or black ink drawings on top of kind of interesting patterned backgrounds. And this one I think might actually get a treatment like that. The edges of the canvases are also a little bit of a question. This has got some drippies on this side, and I'm wondering if I should just let the drips be, or if I should paint, kind of like balance it all out. I don't know. This is all new territory. This is all kind of just figuring it out on the fly. I kind of like the drips. It's kind of messy and industrial, but kind of cool that way. So is there anything else that I want to do before I just let it dry and wait for the next round? I think that's, I kind of like it. I just kind of like the messiness of it. It's going to be a great background layer for the next part. So what I'm going to do, because I'm still yammering and I haven't live streamed in a while, I'm trying to do these on Thursdays and just kind of invite you into whatever it is I'm working on. I think what I'm going to do is let this just be, let it dry, and I have another painting that I have been meaning to ink, and it's very different, and it might be kind of interesting to watch that process. So I'm going to swap that out. It's kind of funny, being a live streamer is sort of like being a paranoid schizophrenic. I think there's other people that are listening to me, but in the end, I'm really just talking to myself. Bumbling around my studio and talking, saying words to no one in particular. So here's our next little project. Point this guy over here. So this was kind of a fun piece because I was trying to paint a background that I could cut up and use to make woodblock prints. But I got it to this stage and decided that I really liked it and didn't want to cut it up, so I ended up just painting backgrounds for the woodblock painting separately. Let's see if I can find a good angle here. And I got to this, which I think is pretty cool. But this is an example of where I think I want to do a layer of black ink on top and kind of give it sort of like an Asian feel, kind of like Japanese brushwork. That is a style that I enjoy making, enjoy looking at. So I think what I'm going to do is grab kind of a medium-sized round brush, kind of a longer one, and my acrylic, flow acrylic black ink. If I can find it. Here it is. Actually, I'll just use the Speedball black ink. Cool. See if I can get that light so it's not like directly behind my head. It's funny, my mom's dad, so my grandfather, was sort of like the Nutty Professor. He was like an inventor, and his basement was always just full of all these electronic machines that he had built, and it was just kind of a mess. And I look around here and I'm like, holy shit, I am my grandfather. I've just got like projects on top of projects, things like littered, I go through and kind of clean up at the end most of the time, but I can see like behind me the residue of the last like 5 projects that I did. Okay, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. Once again, we are welcoming our decisions. There's this moment like right now where, you know, this canvas, it is what it is, and I think it's very beautiful already. And the details and just the composition, everything that it is right now is whole and complete. And the question becomes, you know, why do I need to make more marks on it? And I really don't, but it's like that opportunity and artistry, I guess. And being an artist is this funny, at least with certain pieces, and this is definitely one of them, these pieces that are more of a journey than a destination. You know, this isn't like I'm painting a picture of a horse, and when it's a horse, then I know I'm done. This is just sort of a little journey that I've been on, and I can stop at any point. And sometimes I get to the point where, you know, I wish I had stopped, you know, overworking something, or I've learned this a lot even with this stage of painting, that I strive to just make the fewest brush strokes that I can to get the paint and the colors on the page. Because when I make a stroke and then I actually want it to be this way, and I overcorrect and I correct and I paint and paint and paint, it just has a completely different feel than when it's just like one big confident mark, and even if it's not perfect, it's just like it's allowed to be. And then those bold kind of statements are what to me feels really interesting. And I think I can even give you a little example, maybe. We'll see if this is an example or not. So here's just a random painting. I just looked down and saw it. This was from a sound bath, because randomly here, there's a woman named Susan who does these sound bath meditations and art making sessions. And so I sometimes just come in and that's going on. And this painting here with the cacti, I think it's a pretty cool painting. It might be a little blurry because I can't autofocus here, but I can see in this painting a little bit of what I was just describing. That in some of these areas, you know, I tried and it didn't quite work, and I tried again and maybe tried again before it dried, and it's got, to me when I look at it, it's still beautiful, but I can see where I didn't really trust the process, or where I was like going in and just overworking. And that's kind of the moment that I was at just a second ago with that green painting that we were just working on, where, you know, there were areas that felt incomplete or like I wanted to adjust, but I also knew that some of just the boldness of those first strokes, you know, when all the paint was poured and then I just took a sharp edge and went across it, you know, if I start reworking and reworking, it's adding more of a record of my own insecurity, if that makes sense. Like each little stroke trying to fix it leaves this residue that to me, just my own personal preference, is less beautiful than one big confident stroke that like spills down the page and is just messy and whatever, and the whole composition just becomes like those bold expressions. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense to me, and it's kind of a lead-in for what I'm about to do here, because again, like, you know, this painting is a painting. It is done. There might be someone who loves it just as it is, and I'm making the decision for no reason other than because I have paint, I have a brush, I have curiosity. I am going to add to it, and the trick is to just be confident in that choice once it's made, and to similarly, you know, let it be, let it breathe. Let's see if as we get into it, it makes more sense. So I think what I do like about this piece is I like its feeling of, I'll just call it like wetness. Like there's these drips, there's these splashes, there's these places where it ran and things are mixing, and the black can really it can give certain viewers, and myself included, like these visuals to really kind of anchor into and get lost in. It's like another layer of complexity. And I want to balance those sections with these other sections just being allowed to be wet, be playful. And so if I tried to paint all of it, I think I would lose some of that interest. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just kind of find little areas where I want to just create a little bit more kind of interest or complexity. And let's see, can you... Yeah, I think you can see this, right? If I zoom in a little bit even. Yeah, perfect. So all I'm doing now is I've got this kind of Asian-inspired brush. And I'm just going to look into these forms and I'm going to start just kind of seeing shapes. And it's funny because at this point, like one of my laments is that when I was younger, not even younger, a couple of years ago even, like when I was just sort of starting discovering these processes, styles, you know, everything was so new. And I was just like finding all of these new shapes and forms, like, oh, that's cool. And now, because I've done so many of these paintings, I find myself kind of defaulting back to what I know works. I think that's sort of a challenge for a lot of us, whether you're a painter or just in your life, like getting stuck to what is safe is kind of a natural, almost like optimization of our energy and resources. Like it takes a lot of energy to be original and experimental and taking risks. And when we find something that works, it's an easy and safe tendency to just say, oh, I've been here before, I've seen this, I'm going to do that again. And yeah, I find myself, even as I'm aware of it and talking about it, like here I am again painting these like very, very beautiful, but also very like well-traveled brush strokes. You know, I've made this type of stroke so many times. What would happen if I turned this brush, you know, in a different angle, or even held it in my other hand, or I don't know, what can I do to be brave? And I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I don't know if I'm gonna do it right now. Like my desire to make something that I'm happy with sometimes overrides my bravery to like really just try something completely new and crazy. And what I try and do is I try and create time for both of those opportunities. Like I come in sometimes on Monday nights late and just really have the expectation of I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to hold nothing sacred. I'm going to flow with whatever music I want to listen to, however I want to be in my body, and just dance and throw paint around. And that can kind of be like the unlocker that then gets codified and then used over and over. Kind of an interesting cycle. And I've been told that a lot of what I paint like has this kind of vaginal shape to it, which maybe that's just what's on my mind so often that that's what comes out. It's possible. I think also that it's such an organic form, and when you just kind of look at flow and look at shape and kind of tune into what it's doing, like those shapes are just everywhere. And I mean, you can call it like paisley. But I find like when I really just kind of get lost in what this little drip of paint has done, it becomes these kind of floral, vaginal, and just like swoopy, elongated shapes. I don't know. But my kind of joy is just getting lost in the paint and what it's done. And what's fun is that each of these moments when it was actually painted and wet and drippy were it just happened so fast and everything was just running and there was really no time to even analyze like what any part in particular was doing. But then at this stage, when everything's dry, it's like frozen. It's like this kind of relic. And then I can kind of let my left brain get really black and white and say, oh, there's an edge there, there's a form, there's a bird shape, there's a plant shape, here's the horizon. But when things are happening, we're not always able to kind of see in the moment of unfolding like what it is going to be. I think so much about painting is true about life. Maybe you'll get bored of me saying it, but I find that this allowing things to just flow and be and trust it and trust the mess, trust the process, have faith in myself that I'm able to cope and dance with it and know that there are other layers coming. You know, every stroke is building on something that was already there, and it's adding something that kind of goes forward into the future, that when I sit down again or someone looks at this even, it is a new kind of foothold for a conscious thought. And like right now, my partner Kayla and I are kind of in a big shakeup because she has made a career change, and it's completely new to both of us to kind of be in this situation. And it feels messy. It feels scary. And it's kind of like a painting like this, like just making those bold strokes, those bold declarations. In her case, it was sort of like the declaration of, for all the things I love about this job, there's things that I cannot do and still be kind to myself. And so the decision to leave was just a bold stroke that had to just be made and left alone. Let the paint run, let the colors run, and then can come back days, weeks, months later and say, oh wow, look at that little interesting part that kind of got unlocked because of that big move. But the trick is to kind of step back in a way. This is hard to do. I mean, I think people say the things that they most need to hear. And at night when I'm up and thinking, and it can be really hard for me to internalize some of these things that I can now just sort of muse on and say. But it is the willingness to make the move in the first place and to let it be messy that gives you something interesting to engage with and add the next layers. In a way, like if Kayla had just stayed and been miserable, like there's certain parts that get easier, like money and just knowing day to day, like, okay, I'm gonna be okay in certain ways. But like those what am I trying to say here? Painting that way all the time, maybe it's what I'm doing too, but like life happens in the brave mark making, and then there's lots of time to kind of come back and clean it up and make sense of it. But I definitely value the willingness to make a mess, the willingness to advocate for your happiness in yourself, and to say, you know what, this might be really hard right now, but it's the move that needs to be made. You know, this big drip that runs down the page is what needs to be there so that I have something in my composition, something something that's moving my life and filling it with unknown and curiosity, and especially when it comes from that place of deep self-knowing. And I'm actually right now thinking about another friend who is like fighting for custody of her children, and like what a headache, what pain, and just anxiousness and frustration, and you know, but like what's the alternative? The alternative is to not do that and just let things get progressively worse and see harm come to children. And so like that decision to say, you know what, I am gonna go for full custody is like one of these big bold ass strokes. And that might be drippy and messy and runny, but then you step back, look at life, and it's like, wow, all of this beauty was allowed to flow because I was brave enough to make this messy mark. It's very different from the, you know, I'm gonna paint a perfect picture and, you know, plan it, try and do it, get frustrated, crumple it up, throw it away, don't show it to anybody. I've done that too. Probably done that too much. And so, yeah, this kind of welcoming myself moment to moment and just being, oh, I just realized I've been zoomed way out of where I'm actually painting over here. Yeah, this one is fun. I'm liking it. You know, part of me wants to go in and just make a few like dark marks, some dork morks. Look, Harry, it's the dork mork. I'm also kind of digging just like calling out these little curly Q shapes. Let's see. Oh, I think this guy needs a little love. Let it be messy. Let it kind of fade out. That spot is where everything just went. We'll just let it be. Whew. I don't know, would Georgia O'Keeffe be proud? There's some keefiness. I just see these like, I mean, obviously it's very floral. It looks like flowers, so I guess I can't be too surprised at what I'm painting here. Just like, they all look like these little kind of weird flyaway flower petals. But, yeah. So I think what I'm gonna do is just do a couple kind of little bit more ink, kind of stand back here and just kind of let this kind of match that mess. Just kind of let it be thick, but just to kind of bring the composition into, yeah, like that. That's cool. Got these sections of little detail. I want just a few sections of kind of messy and bold. And this is where like that Asian brush kind of feels like the move. I feel like there just needs to be kind of compositionally something a little bit darker right here, even if it's not 100% clear in the painting. Just something that kind of matches the chaos. Yeah. take a moment to just kind of step back, see what we got. Yeah. One of the like little sayings that I sometimes think of is, I guess, I don't know if it fits in this whole conversation, but sometimes I feel like the biggest enemy to myself and my paintings and my life is like doing something out of center. Like maybe feeling like stressed and then like making a decision based on that stress and then seeing what was made, not liking it and trying to fix it, and then kind of overworking that section, and it just like further calls out the part that I don't like. And so the kind of the saying is like, don't double down on mistakes. And in this sense, in what I'm talking about, like there's really no mistakes possible here because I'm just moving a brush, I'm just putting ink on the page, and at the end of it, no one's gonna see the things that I think are mistakes. Like that never happens. I guess that could happen if you're like painting a portrait or something. You put an ear where the nose should be or something. But even then, like maybe that's just art. Maybe that was the intention. So there's really no objective mistake. But I find when there's something that I don't like and I focus on it and I try and like correct it out or move it away, that's when I actually like call even more attention to it. And so the trick is to kind of let go, let the mistake just be there, or let the section that I don't like just kind of be there. And it might actually be pretty beautiful. Someone, that might be their favorite section. And yeah, I think it might even be true of like this little thought path that I'm going down like right now. Like have I said anything at all? Do I like what I've said? Maybe not, but I can just let it be and just move on to the next thought rather than trying to jump in and correct it, control it, overdo it. See, this is just like so much fun. It's just so satisfying and meditative. And I have to assume that the ease and the joy that I have while painting it just comes through when people look at it. Because in a way, art is just like a residue. It's a record of someone who came and moved their body through space and time, perhaps holding onto paintbrushes, perhaps flinging paint out of cups, perhaps whatever that might be. And it's just like seeing the finished piece is seeing a record of somebody's inner state and flow. And with these, I hope that when people look into them, they just have this sense of calm of like, oh, I can let my nervous system just relax and follow these little paint drips and get lost in these little organic patterns, and just like looking at a flower stem or leaves, or it's all just there. It's all calm and quietly being waiting to be observed. Or not. You might run by the same painting every single day without looking at it because life's just too busy. And then that one moment when you slow down and look and just think like, oh, some human moved a tiny little brush right there. Made that itty bitty little mark. Isn't life full? And so I think I was talking earlier about like knowing when you're done. So like one of the hardest artistic virtues. And it's fun. It's one of my favorite questions to ask another artist is, how do you know when you're done? And I've had different answers. Someone recently was telling me that they know they're done when it stops itching. Like if you see something, see a painting like this, if I look at it and it's like, oh, you know what? Like there's just like areas that don't feel done, it feels itchy, then I keep painting. One of my kind of things that I've uncovered or just discovered is that when I ask that question, is it done? Like when that question comes up, that's the moment that I pause and I step back and I look. And it can get really, it's so easy to just get sucked in to the in the weeds view, in the details view. And you can, or I can find myself just like painting and painting and painting and painting past the point of what that painting might have actually wanted, if that's such a thing. But as soon as I ask that question, like, is it done? That's when I will just step back or even leave it and come back to it. I find that can be really helpful too. And one of the best ways that I've kind of found, like a flow hack, is this idea of playing add-on with yourself. That in every moment you're just sort of inheriting this little piece, and you're brand new to it, and it's just that moment of like, what is this? What has been done? Where do I see an area that could use a little embellishment or a little curlicue, and then just doing that, and then repeating the process. Like, oh, what is this now? What has been done? What's here? What could use just a little nudge? And none of it's required. It's just like that opportunity to accentuate and find like the flow, find the parts that are interesting, and call just little subtle attention to it. Yeah, I'm feeling like this is getting at least to a point where I feel like it is more of a finished piece than it was when I started. I was kind of debating whether I should paint black lines on it at all, and then I just decided to go for it. And let's take a look at what we got here. See if I can do this without unplugging absolutely everything. All right, so here's what we got, and we're going to kind of wrap this up here. Woo. Focus. Yeah, so we just got all these really interesting little flower shapes. Really loving kind of the wild drippiness of this one. I think when I finally do pull the tape and take it off the canvas, off the backing board, it's just going to kind of breathe and be its own final statement. For now, we're just going to let it be what it is. Let's see what we got over here. So here's our green piece. And it is green. Let's see if I can get this out of here. This one also just has a lot of really beautiful details and texture that I don't know how well it's going to read on this video camera. Let's see if I can put it in manual. It's just so dark. Yeah, well, I feel satisfied. I feel complete. I don't know how the stream worked. I don't know if people watched. I guess it doesn't actually matter. I showed up. I made some art, said some words, and